boys and girls, Mrs. Blackburn here. We are going to read an excerpt from a story called The Mystery of the Cactus Arm for today's writing assignment. But first, let's look at the learning goals. The learning goal: students will make inferences and use text evidence when responding to reading. Success criteria: I can use the yes ma'am strategy to help me create a written response and use text evidence to support what I infer. All right, let's go ahead and begin. Okay, I'm going to read this excerpt for you, and you can follow right along as I read. I stand under the saguaro cactus in my front yard with my next door neighbor, Calvin. The cactus towers over us at least 5 times our height. Its trunk-like body and large curving arms reach for the cloudless Arizona sky. Oliver, Calvin says, I bet $5 you can't make that arm fall off. He's always betting me like this. Last week, he bet $5 I couldn't catch a tarantula hawk, which is a nasty wasp. I ended up with the most painful sting of my life, but that was still better than having to deal with Calvin making fun of me at school if I'd chickened out. A wooden support beam is wedged under one of the saguaro arms. My parents put it there to hold the arm up after a tree branch fell on it, causing it to nearly break off. I push on the beam. But it's pretty stuck. I don't know, I say, kicking at it lightly. My parents are trying to save it. Calvin narrows his eyes and grins. I bet you $10. I'm tempted. I could put the money toward the new video game I've been wanting, Animal Crossing, but it's still a bad idea. Nah, I say, my parents might get mad. Okay, we're going to stop there, and we're going to look over here at the writing question. So here is the writing question that I want us to respond to and answer using the yes ma'am strategy. Notice it says inference, so we are going to be making an inference. What can you tell about the relationship between Oliver and Calvin? Is Calvin a good friend? Okay, what can you tell about the relationship between Oliver and Calvin, and is Calvin a good friend? So let's go ahead and pull up this chart that I created to help us use the yes ma'am strategy. So if you look up here, we have the M for me. So I went ahead and made an inference here and said, I do not think that Oliver and Calvin can trust each other. Calvin does not seem like a very good friend. So here's where I used my inference and went ahead and made my general statement and answered the question. Notice that that's not where we leave it. We don't just leave it here. Now I need to use text evidence to support my answer. So I take my first response from the author came right from the text, and I use that conjunctive adverb. According to the text, Oliver says it was better to get the worst wasp sting of his life than to deal with Calvin. So, if we look right back in the text here, notice I got that right out of the text, and that's where that A comes from. He says, I ended up with the most painful sting of my life, but that was still better than having to deal with Calvin making fun of me, right? So he says he'd rather do that. So that came right out of the text. Okay. Then the next A for author, what the author said, I begin with a conjunctive adverb. Furthermore, Calvin rolls his eyes at Oliver and calls him a chicken when he won't take his bet to pull the arm off the cactus. So again, this is supporting my idea and my thought that I don't think that Oliver and Calvin can trust each other, and Calvin doesn't seem like a very good friend. So see how I have two things that I pulled right from the text to support my inference that I made. Okay, and then my last sentence, I have a conjunctive adverb in conclusion. I believe that Oliver and Calvin are not good friends because, so I join that together, and then I explain. So I'm restating my inference, and then I'm explaining why. Calvin is always trying to get Oliver to do things he shouldn't do, and that is not what true friends do to each other. So you can see I have 4 sentences here that constitute a really well written response and response to the question. Notice it's not just one sentence. It's not weak. It's very strong. And this is what your teachers are expecting and looking for. And it's very easy to do if you just make your inference and then you have 2 answers right from the text that the author stated in the story or in the text, and then you restate your opinion again at the end with your inference. So hope this is becoming easier to you as we go on through the week, and have a great day. Bye-bye.